So, our next speaker that will help us deep dive on understanding the mission of Couples for Christ is being married also for 15 years. A lot of 15 years. Me and Romulan just celebrated 15 years too. So, a lot of 15 years. Brother Wells, Sister Rizal, 15 years. Myself and Romulan. And our next speaker also 15 years. So, he's been married for 15 years. So, of course, another beautiful sister, Sister Sheila. And they're blessed with 2 great kids. And they've been serving in the ministry for 8 years. And currently, they are our Kids for Christ coordinator. So, brothers and sisters, help me welcome our next speaker, a man in spirit again, who is truly serving the Lord. Let's welcome Brother Gerald Brillante.
So, good evening, brothers and sisters. So, that's a really nice talk that Brother Will had, right? God is good.
All the time.
All the time.
God is good.
Yeah. God is where?
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Here.
There you go. So, you always know how to answer that part. So, talk wala good. Brother Ferdy already gave us a quick summary of what we're going to talk about. Now to make it short too. Yeah, so we're going to have a deep dive. So, what it's really, what are you getting yourself into? You're almost being dedicated next week, but do you really know what you're getting yourself into? And is it really worth it? Is it really, couples for Christ or just for Christ or what it is, right? So we're gonna have a brief history where it started, how it started, and we will also discuss the mission and vision. So, what is Couples for Christ? A Christian community for the renewal and the strengthening of family life and making love of God felt among the poor. So, there's 2 aspects of that statement, right? So, community renewal and strengthening of family life. So again, we go back to the basic unit of society, which is the family. And then there's the second one. The love of God felt among the poor. So there's an inward part where we need to strengthen first before we can go out. That's why it was always in order. Because we cannot go out and evangelize if we know ourselves that, our family needing some evangelization, right? So we become hypocrites. So it's not the way it is. So it's really designed for us to strengthen that core and to really just live that life that, how we meant to be. Because remember, when you met your husband, you met your wife, you two are meant to help each other, what?
Grow together.
Grow together and so the whole point of it is, as here in Couples for Christ, is to help each other go to heaven, right? So that's your as a husband, that's your your main role for your wife, and your wife for your husband.
Who's going first?
Right? Who's going first? Who's going first? If you know that, then you know that you need to do their part. So they can reach heaven. So started in June 1981 in Manila. So 16 couples are looking for ways to enrich their marriage life. So it's a marriage enrichment is that what they're looking for. Led by Frank Padilla and his wife and 15 other couples, and started this, right? So, if I was the one who started this, and looking back, 37 years after, who would know that this would be a worldwide ministry, Catholic ministry? So, so imagine if it's not God-centered, right? So you wouldn't think that it would last that long. And not only that, we, Couples for Christ, is recognized by the Vatican as a private international association of the faithful of pontifical right. this mouthful, but what it means is we are recognized by the Vatican as a legitimate Catholic ministry. And you know, when you are recognized by the Vatican, you have requirements. So you have to what? To have what? A philosophy that is centered in Christ. You need to have a mission, you need to have a vision, and then a 5-point commitment. And so we were going to dive into the 5-point commitment a little bit later on. But those are requirements for us to be part of that list of worldwide Catholic ministry. So, you know, as a member, you should be proud. As a Catholic, you should be proud that in a Couples for Christ, anywhere you go, there will be a Couples for Christ too. And not only that, that your Couples for Christ, if you go to Rome, that you are indeed recognized by the Vatican. So be proud of that. You know, to me, like, oh, that's really cool, because it's one of those things that I wouldn't know that Vatican will know me. But if I say that I'm a member of Couples for Christ, then there you go. There's my entry to see the Pope.
There's your pass.
So anyway, it's also a highly evangelistic community that continues to grow. This PowerPoint was created in 2015. So we're still using the same format. And back then, there are Couples for Christ in 105 countries around the world. More than 1 million couples as a member of the ministry. And more than 500,000 of kids being part of the ministry. Right? So it's a big organization. Now I gotta wait for that. Present in over 105 countries. CFC aims for its members to grow in holiness. Again, we go back to the main purpose of why we're here. Growing in holiness within the family. So we can go out and evangelize God's word, right? Vision. So we're gonna talk about mission and vision of the Couples for Christ. Can we all read it? Moved by the Holy Spirit, one with the Catholic Church, blessed to witness Christ's love and service. Couples for Christ is a united global community of family evangelizers that sets the world on fire with the families of God's transforming love. So it's a mouthful, but you know, so that's our vision. You know, so mission is building the church of the home and the church of the poor. Can we all read it as well? We are Couples for Christ. We are committed to live in God's righteousness and holiness, evangelizing people through a life of love and service. We shall work for the renewal of families that will serve God and build generations of Christian leaders. And we shall pursue total Christian liberation through social justice, respect for life, and work with the poor. So again, right? So let me ask you, like, what's the difference of mission and vision in your opinion? Is there any difference? Anyone?
Well, vision is action. Vision is to see.
Okay. Anyone else? So mission is like mostly our long-term goal, right? The vision is what we're doing right now. So we're committed to what we're committed because we're hoping that the mission that we are will be responsible for is being carried out, right? So those are the two differences, and those two are not interchangeable. They go hand in hand together. So that's our mission and that's our vision. So again, we go back to the family as the basic unit of society, right? So here in Couples for Christ too, we're known to be what we call a womb-to-tomb ministry. So meaning back in 1993, after several years of being a Couples for Christ, established Catholic ministry in the Philippines, they decided that it's not just the couples who need to grow in holiness, right? So the entire family should be all part of it. So they decided that they will have this CFC Kids for Christ, which is also known as KFC, so which we are now a part of. My wife and I are currently are in training to be kids coordinator. So technically, it's not known to be Kids for Christ anymore, not KFC, because KFC is chicken too. But more than that, Kids for Christ is actually a ministry in Midwest that has been here. So technically, we cannot use the word Kids for Christ. So we are now known to be CFC Kids. So I don't, they're not going to change the logo, but it was explained to us that we cannot use the word Kids for Christ anymore. It's CFC Kids from now on. So kids, so your toddler all the way to what? 12 years old. So that will be your Kids for Christ. That would be under Kids for Christ. And there they grow to be teenagers, 13 to what? 18. They can be CFC youth. And then there you go, Singles for Christ. So 18 and above, Singles for Christ. And then Handmaids of the Lord, single women or widows. And then Servants of the Lord, which are the widowers or unmarried men, right? So again, there's that, from the womb, you have the ministry, and all the way to the tomb. Not the afterlife, because you're already in heaven, so there's no need for that. But so it's a complete ministry. So when you come here and you bring your family, so you know that they will be taken care of. It's not only the two of you as couple will have nourishment, but the entire family will have as well. So Sheila and I will be in training for that, and hopefully that we can serve the kids already with the help of the CFC youth, and we can start in all our unit assemblies to start teaching the kids as well and have their own activities, and just like an ordinary Couples for Christ, they also have their household, but it doesn't have to be every week. It's once a month, but they have their weekly activities. So you should look forward to that, and we actually thank God that we're now part of it, and that Brother Dexter and Sister Charmaine Abiera also stepping up to take the role of household leader for our household. So really, God is working in as we grow as well. Other CFC ministries and programs. Angkop, answering the cry of the poor. So this again started in the Philippines, and then again, they always have, poor, right? So you will see that everywhere inside the Couples for Christ, and that's our advocacy. And not only that, also we are known to be pro-life. So we support conception of life. So we are that. So we can work with the poor through shelter, health, and education. We also have the Gift of Love, which is a profile ministry, and the migrant workers programs. And then Ablaze. Ablaze is our social communication. So if you go to the website cfcusa.org, and there's a link there to go Ablaze. Ablaze is where you can purchase Christian novelties, right? So books that you can read. There's a lot of we always have the In His Steps book. So it's a daily reading that you can have with reflections in it. So I forgot how much it costs, but it's divided into 4 books for each quarter. But it's a really good daily tool to use. Brother Will just talked about tools to use. And if you when you get dedicated and you have a chance to go to a place and purchase In His Steps, that's one of the great ways. And also too, that the good part of the reflection is it's a reflection by a couple, by a CFC couple. So it's within the ministry, right? It's not saying that we shouldn't read other Christian or Catholic Christian books, but that in itself is supported by our ministry, and we should support it as well. Work with men and women in uniform, prison, environment, cooperatives. So that's other programs that we support. Importance of CFC mission. So God's plan for the family is a basic unit of society, and we go back to that. So we strengthen the core of the family. We do that first before we go out. So that has been explained and over-explained so many times because it is what we need to figure out first, right? So again, can't go out there and evangelize if we know ourselves that we need within our family a strengthening, right? So future humanity passes by way of the family. St. John Paul II during the Familiaris Consortio, as we said. Our task is to strengthen family life through the renewal of individuals, families, and the church. Importance of CFC mission. We make a commitment to grow together in holiness as Christian couples and as individuals. So again, when you get dedicated, you will be put into households. So most likely you will be under Brother Jeff and Sister Cher's household, and you will have weekly household meetings. You will have other responsibilities as well as a newly dedicated couples for Christ. So that means a lot of formation trainings. There's what we call the marriage enrichment retreat, which you shouldn't miss at all because that's really good. And there's other unit assemblies once a month for the entire unit, and all other activities like conferences. So CFC conference, Brother Ro mentioned that earlier. So that's yearly. Yeah, it's every year, and this year is going to be in Virginia. Yeah, so we're gonna talk about that. So 5-point commitment. So I shared that earlier, right? What is the 5-point commitment? So this one. Next week, you're going to be signing this. You're going to be signing your life away to this. So this is Brother Richard's. It's been in his wallet for God knows how many long years now. And that's what's supposed to be, how it's supposed to be. You should always carry it with you. Which obviously is not mine, and I don't carry mine in my wallet. Which actually mine is in my old ID, which now we don't use the old ID, so now
You can really tell.
You can still, yeah.
You can really tell it's old.
Yeah, you can really tell it's old. So he really followed his covenant, right? Because he has it with him all the time. So again, this is the 5-point commitment, and it says here the 5 main things that we need to follow as a couples for Christ. So I want to share that with you too. I want to read that you're gonna read this next week as well too before you sign it. So the main point here is that you should give half of your possession to the couples for Christ. It's not true. It's priceless. No, really, no. That's not even part of it. But trusting the Lord's help and guidance. Number 1 is the first of the 5-point commitment. I shall live as a follower of Christ. What does that mean? So it says here, so it all has this explanation, so you can't get lost. Pray every day for at least 15 minutes. If you're doing that now, then you're in good hands. Read scriptures every day for at least 15 minutes. Scriptures every day. So my wife and I, we go to this website because it's not like you can carry a Bible in the toilet, right? But we carry this. Our phone will have this rc.net. I don't know what she uses, but rc.net will have daily readings and reflections at the end of it as well. And there's a prayer at the bottom too. So it's a really good tool. And if you start the day, you wake up, start the day with a prayer and how you thank God. That's another sunrise that you have to give up. You start the day with. Right? So that's amazing by itself. So last week you learned about how to do acts, right? So adorations, contrition, thanksgiving, and supplication, right? So your prayer now is supposed to have those ingredients, right? So first you thank God for the blessings that you have. Thank God for waking up by itself, right? Some people didn't. So we thank God for all of that. We praise and worship Him. We give Him our thanksgiving and our adoration, and then we ask Him for our intentions, and we ask sorry for our sins that we committed, right? And then there's participate regularly in the worship life of my church. What does that mean? Well, you're still a Catholic, right? You still have your responsibilities. Sunday masses, right? That's still part of it. All holidays of obligations. Avoid sin and wrongdoing. Self-explanatory. So, I'll leave that up to you. Put good order in my private life. So good order in private life. I don't know what that means. Number 2. So this is the second point. I dedicate myself to the task of building a strong family for Christ. Strong family. Again, we go back to the basic, right? We ourselves have a big role in making our family Christ-centered. Making our family. I don't know how to just point that, but that's it. We cannot start anywhere else but inside our families. We want our family to grow in the love of Christ, right? Seek regular weekly dialogue with my spouse, my children, weekly. So my wife speaks daily, so there's no problem in that. Exercise my duties actively as a parent. Again, you go, as a parent, what are your duties, right? And again, part of that is dialogue with your kids. See how their day went, right? After school, and all that good stuff. Pray with my family daily and celebrate the Lord's Day together. My family, that's bedtime prayers. We make sure that Adam and Ryan will have each own prayers with the same ingredients, the acts, right? So sometimes it sounds like a recording. I already know what they're going to say, and I know the order of it as well, but we let them do it because they're young kids. The whole point is to get in the habit of doing it. As they grow, they would have their own style of doing it. But as long as we're, putting that seed in them that, they should pray. In all aspects of their life, they should just pray. And that's what we tell them. They would go to school, they would come home, they were disappointed. Oh, this kid pushed me, this guy's been a bully. And it's like, what do you do in all those cases? You pray, right? So that's all we tell them. Okay, and also, as soon as we get out the door and drive somewhere. So that's also, an occasion for prayer. And each of us will have our own prayers as well. So again, it is getting to a habit of prayer all the time. Maybe it's when you see your kids, it's repetitive. It sounds like lip service, but they're kids. You cannot tell. That's their prayer. And let them get into that habit of doing it. Invest generous amount of time for home and family. So again, family. Number 3, third point of the 5-point commitment. I will make myself available to the Lord for service. What does that entail? Bring other couples to Christ. So this is now when we also invite other people. Now you're dedicated to be house, as couples for Christ. You've seen the fellowship, you've seen the friendship that's created here, the atmosphere. So now you go to your friends, say, you know what, you saw her and saw them, they're being quiet, they look like they're running through something or experiencing something, and something, just invite them, right? And I know Brother Renel would allow this to happen to where you can invite a couple, not even to the CLP, but to your household. All you have to do is tell your household leader you're inviting someone to join. But again, the topic should be either teaching or something else, but not something intimate that your household should only know. So you can do that. I will make, that's the one. Bring other couples, and then there's another one. Make time to serve in couples for Christ. This is service. Wherever I am called to serve and follow directions of those who have responsibility for my service. Right? So this is service. The fact that we're here it's hosted by upper household, but everyone is always here. So the availability of everyone, Brother Ruel said, no one else wants to do it, so he did it, but he did it. So that's all that matters, right? That's all that counts. Number 4, I will relate in love and loyalty to other families in Couples for Christ. What are those? Attend my small group meetings weekly and support the good order of the meeting. So when you get dedicated next week, you will start your formation trainings within your household. So you will be designated into a household, and you will have your weekly meetings, and you will decide on which day everyone is available. Like with us, with our household, we started having Friday meetings, Friday nights, so after work. And when we were with Brother Neil, which, Brother Ruel and I were dedicated the same year, 2010. So there's 3 of us who were dedicated that year, and we have our household usually Saturdays afternoon, so 2 o'clock to 2 p.m. And then one of the couples that were dedicated moved to Vegas, and so there's 2 of us, but we still do households every Saturdays. So that's part of the responsibility of being in Couples for Christ. So number 5, so last but not the least, I shall study and seek to grow as a Christian person and in understanding and fulfillment of my marriage vocation. What are those? Attend all courses, retreats, workshops, and conferences of Couples for Christ. Again, the ones that I mentioned earlier. So we will have your formations, MER, Marriage Enrichment Retreat, it's always a good thing. There's 1 and 2. There's a 2 coming in that a lot of us will attend here in Fresno. And the MER1 was back 4 or 5 years ago, and it was also here in Fresno. And that's really life-changing. So I encourage you. So other than that, there's a lot of teachings that you can attend. For men, there's some men conferences, ABBA, and all those other conferences. And again, the big conference that we do annually. Brother Ruel and I attended one time in Fairfield men's retreat. Yeah, so that was really good too, because that's only meant for the husbands and the soldiers for Christ. But it was really good to just have all men, and a lot of sharing was done, and you can tell that you're not the only one. Everyone's experiencing everything. So it doesn't matter like how strong your faith is, but still go through the same things together. And the thing is, you're going through it together, and you're trying to not to solve it, but to support each other together as well. So one of the things that make us, Sheila and I, really just stay here in the Couples for Christ is because not only of the camaraderie, but it's really the support. You have a problem, you talk to someone, and then they help you and not solve it. Don't come for any financial aspect of it though, because I don't think anyone would have that. Anyway. Diligently study all materials given to me. Diligently. So I should take a note of that. But those are the 5-point commitment, right? So this is important. You should have it with you. Don't making Brother Richard as an example. Copy me, copy him. That it should be with you all the time. This is very important. So we'll move on. So next week you will sign that. You will read that. You'll go over it again. Nothing to be scared about. It's not your possession that we're after. It's just your commitment to Christ. Supporting one another in CFC. So how do we do that? We are committed relationships through households. Ongoing teaching and formation. So it's ongoing. So we always have that. So by other regular communities, sorry. By other regular community activities. Right? So we're going to get into the conclusion now. Conclusion. So here we are. Restore Christian family back to God's original plan. So what are those? See with eyes of faith. So what does that mean? In our family, I would say that we're in this route. You know, we're trying to get into just believing that by trusting in God, you know, everything will be fine, right? So I've watched this video 2 days ago, and this guy was saying about, you know, how important smile is. You know, he mentioned like, you know, if you have a problem in life and you know how to solve it, then why worry? Smile. That's good. And if you have a problem in life and you don't know how to solve it, why worry? Smile. That's true. And, you know, like sometimes we burden ourselves with so much stress and so much, you know, anxiety that we forget that what we need to do is let go and let God, right? So that's what Sheila and I are trying to accomplish each and every day of our lives in our family. We will go through a lot of trials, we go through a lot of tribulations. You know, in 2012, I lost a sister. After 6 months, I lost a mother. So that in itself, it's really, up until now, it's still something that I would think about, right? Because, yeah, but then again, you know, that part we're trusting in God and just believing that there was a reason for it. It's something that you would not understand. So, right? And one of my favorite Bible verse is from Proverbs chapter 3 verses 5 to 6. Right? Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, give it up to Him and He will make your path right. So that's really a good verse. So for me, you know, now that I'm working again, you know, 2 years of after being laid off for 2 years, now that I'm working again, it's something that I came to just realize as well too. That it's always in God's time. And we can never push anything in the way we like it. And we can never understand what God's purpose for us and His plan for us. But we all know that if we lay down our understanding and let Him take over, that He will direct you to where you need to be. So it's harder said than done, right? But then again, that's why we're here for, is to really strengthen that faith. You know, that's the goal of being in a community. So, you know, we all have our trials and tribulations in life, and we go through all of these things every day, the challenges. But here we are. You know, we're hand in hand. We're a community serving God and growing in holiness for Him as well. So be part of God's work. So again, outward facing. You know, as we strengthen our family members, there's other peoples that needed our help, right? Especially the poor. And we always say that. Be part of Couples for Christ. Be part of Couples for Christ. So being active, I guess, is what it is. So, so for you guys, next week you're gonna be signing and being dedicated to be members of Couples for Christ. So it's something to look forward to. I remember our dedication when we were back in 2010. We are not supposed to go to our dedication. Sheila and I can't get out of bed and we can't talk. We're sick and it was raining really hard. We were both sick. Back then, our unit leaders, Tita Nena and Tito Art Nisperos, keeps calling Sheila. And we keep telling them, we can't go. I can't hear myself. I can't get out of bed. So, but at some point, we took that first step. We just went, you know what? Let's dress up. Let's go. And 8 years after, that first step really took over our life. So you're gonna be in a lot of temptation from here on until next week. So if you think that you're in God's hand, you know also that the devil is working extra hard for you to not get next week, to not sign your dedication and your covenant next week. So persevere, be patient, we are a community that will be praying for you, and you're almost there. You took the first step to be in the right path. I can't say that it's perfect, but I'm sure that no one forced you to be here. But all I can say is that it's an experience of growth. It's an experience of fulfillment and satisfaction to be in the hands of God. So with that, brothers and sisters, may God be praised.
Amen.
Take and pray. So now I would like to call my lovely wife, Sheila.
Okay, so when Gerard and I got married, he was looking, after a few years, he was looking for something. He actually said Couples for Christ. And I worked over at the hospital at Kaiser, and Brother Arik, which he's not here, was asking if I was interested to go into CLC. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I remember writing down the word CLC, and I asked him, and he was really excited. I had no idea what it was. But then a year later, he asked me again, and Gerard says, yes, you want to make sure. And I had to remember writing down in scratch paper CFC, and I couldn't remember what it stood for. And we went through the CLP, and I was pregnant, and I'll be honest with you that I did not want to go. I was pregnant. I wanted to be home. I never really have to tell you, been around with so many Filipino people in my life, except for in the hospital, so I wasn't really comfortable, and I'll be honest with that. So we went through that motion, and I did miss a couple of sessions because, oh, okay, I went to the Philippines. He told me I had to watch the CD, and I have to tell you that looking back 8 years now, I can see God's plan. Every intent that I had, I didn't want to do it. To even think about that my weekend was going to be spent 4 to 6 hours with a group of people, and I don't really know what I was getting into, I wasn't interested. If it's something that I didn't know, I wasn't interested about it. You know what I mean? And he had dragged me along. So for what I saw, where our marriage was well, he had that need and that want, and he wanted more. And I didn't know what it was. So I was okay to be at home. I was absolutely okay to be at home. And we got that blessing to be at Brother Neil's household, as well as Sister LaSalle and a different couple. And I went through that motion, and it was fine. And every time there was a cancellation, there was a turnaround that said, no, Sister LaSalle says she can host, so now we have to go. And I have to tell you, we were perfect attendance for a year. There was no way that we were going to miss anything. And I could probably say, no, it's a holiday, I'm not going to go. And we have to go out of town. That was his thing. Every weekend we had to go out of town, because if you must know, Gerard gets migraines every time, and our weekend plans gets canceled. And we didn't have any kids for 6 years, so it was just really he and I, and our dog. So, and I have to tell you that I just went through that motion. Ryan was born. We dragged him around. We would always argue that we were late, and to find out that when they said 1 o'clock, it was 1:30, and we got used to that. It was 2 o'clock, and we got used to that. And I still, throughout all these years, was just feeling, okay, and then it got better, and I realized, okay, I can go closer to God. I'm not coming here for you or for this person. I'm here because I want to learn more about God. And I learned how to do that. And in the background is born being Catholic, I didn't learn how to pray the rosary. When I married Gerard, his mom says that I need to learn how to pray the rosary. I've learned from all of you guys now that everybody prays the rosary daily. My mom is that's another story, but my mom, I've seen her pray each time, but at a later age, my parents had divorced. So I didn't see all that. I knew how to pray. She taught us how to pray, but it wasn't where I'm going to pray the rosary, I'm going to pray the novena. Those are the things that I learned from all of you guys. And I've learned how to put that into my life and see things differently, and how to be just as simple as I can, and to know that God has a plan, and Gerard has always reminded me of that. But looking back, there is a time, it was up and down. I have to tell you that I've had spiritually really felt and had learned to not only ask for God because I needed something or wanted something or somebody was sick, that I am so thankful, Lord, and I have to tell you, and I praise you, and I just am so glad. But there was a time with Gerard where I just had too much, and it was up and down throughout the years where, you know what, I really want my weekend to be just with us. We're always there. It's 4 hours, and I know it's the same thing. I always had excuses. I have to tell you where that snake slithered over and told Adam I was that snake, and I would tell him, no, we won't go. And one day we knew that Gerard, he was going to get laid off. That was, the company was going through that. He had lost his job, and it was very hard for him. And one day there was a time where we had to go somewhere, and I said, no, we already went. This is the second time. And he looked at me in the eye and he says, do you know what I feel? He says, you know, that I lost my job. Like, God says, yes, you're too busy, you don't have time. So let me take your job away from you, so now you have time for the Lord. And I looked at him and I said, okay. So I knew it was his plan, you know, and I've had my ups and downs. The kids are older now, he's 8 now. I've gotten my faith stronger. I'd have to say that each one of you is a part of that as you're sitting here, and I remember sitting where you're at. I can still remember the share, like I told you, Sister Monique, I remember when she shared her share when I was sitting there, that every sharing or teaching that we've had, I can take every single one that's made me who I am today in my faith. And then there's that time again, just over the last weekend, where, you know, Gerard's sister died of cancer, and Gerard had that symptoms that she did that diagnosed her. And I freaked out, and I forgot about God. And he says, you know, you could have just prayed. We could have just prayed it together instead of you telling me this and that. And I step back and I look at myself like, okay, so when I think that I'm ready, when I think that I've grown in faith, every single day is a temptation, and every single day I have to really remember. And so one of the things that I've learned is, instead of praying, you know, Lord, send forth the Holy Spirit, there's the one that I learned to just say, come Holy Spirit, and touch my heart. So I'm glad that you're here. There's going to be a lot of temptations, and I can never forget how many times they said that, but it's true. And I can look back now after 8 years, and I'll tell you that I've grown. No, I'm not perfect just because I'm couples for Christ now, that everybody thinks, oh no, no, they're good because they're couples for Christ. But I do it so that I can grow, and in my family, it's my duty as a wife and a mom that I would raise the kids and support my husband to be, you know, Christ-centered, and that we will grow in faith, and that as a community, I know that there's somebody that I can reach out to each time, and I'm very thankful for Couples for Christ.